This episode of See Tolle Run is brought to you by Grandma's Marathon. Hi, I'm Olympian Carrie Tollefson, and today we have a special treat for you. While I was in Duluth for the Grandma's Marathon, I had the opportunity to sit down for breakfast with Dick and Jill Beardsley. Let's get after it. Dick Beardsley's career highlights include being a two-time champion and course record holder at Grandma's Marathon, his Duel in the Sun battle with Alberto Salazar at the 1982 Boston Marathon, and his induction into the National Distance Running Hall of Fame. Dick is also a two-time Olympic trials marathon qualifier and the third fastest American-born runner in the marathon distance. Dick overcame a near-fatal farm accident and 3 serious automobile accidents. He successfully battled his addiction to pain medication and found his love for running again, running numerous sub-3-hour marathons. Dick founded the Dick Beardsley Foundation, and he currently travels the country as a motivational speaker at races and other events. So, when you ran here, 1981.
I know it.
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
You know,
you were like barely walking at that point.
I was 4. I was 2 years younger than Ruby. Oops, she didn't like that. But so you ran 2:09 here. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have never run that fast here. What did you do?
You know, it was cloudy.
It was dry.
No wind. There was a little mist and fog coming in off of Lake Superior, and Gary Bjorken was in the race, and BJ's from the area here. He had won the marathon the year before, ran 2:10:20 by himself.
Yep.
And the gun went off, and I remember we got about a quarter mile down the road. I remember looking over my shoulder behind me and not seeing anybody because the fog had rolled in.
Oh, like it is today, kind of.
Yeah. And BJ turned to me, he says, "Beards," I'll never forget this. He says, "Beards, it's just you and I." And he says, "But listen," he says, "it's your race."
Yeah.
He says, I'm here for
Really?
you, whatever I can do to help you, but it's your race. And my first inkling is, okay, wait a minute.
Why would he say that?
Yeah, the guy's a defending champion.
Yeah.
He's a 2:10 marathoner, he's an Olympian, and he's telling me it's my race in his backyard?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, my first thought was, he set me up for the kill. Is what he's
Yeah,
doing.
he had a little ways to think about it,
But
too, then.
you know what? I started getting a bad stitch at 4.5 miles, and I didn't know if I should say anything to him, but I thought, he said he'd help me out, so I said, "BJ, I got a terrible stitch." He says, "No problem, Beards. We'll just back off the pace a little bit.
Aww.
At 5 miles, there's an aid station. Get some water, you'll be fine." Sure enough, we backed off the pace a little bit, and yeah.
Wow, and what did he end up running?
I tell you, he ran 2:11:30 or something like that. But you know what? People talk about me running 2:09 that day. I'm more impressed with BJ's 2:11.
Really?
He trained for 6 weeks for that. Oh. If you look at some of the photos, his gut is hanging over his shorts a little bit.
Hilarious.
Honest to goodness. It was just one of those days. Everything came together, and what was so special for me, and I've said this since day one, wasn't so much that I was fortunate to win it or run 2:09, but my mom and dad were inside the finish chute at the end, and they'd never seen me run a marathon before. Oh. And I had no idea how fast I was running because my little watch I was wearing, I don't know, coming off of Lemon Drop Hill, I looked at my watch and it had gone blank. The battery had gone dead.
Oh, hilarious.
And back then, they didn't have the balloons every mile, so I had no idea where I was in the course. And I remember coming around the last corner, coming down that long straightaway, and people are going, "You're going to break 2:10." And I'm thinking, are they nuts? Are they smoking something funny? Yeah. And then I saw the clock, and then I thought, and then I remember coming across the finish line, and I'm jumping up and down, like I just got a new train set for Christmas as a little kid. Yes. And my dad, you could have hit over the head with a 2x4, and he wouldn't have cried. Yeah. So I come through the chute, and my mom and dad are there, and my dad's crying. Aww. And so Friday night, I'm laying in bed here in Duluth. I got the news on at 10 o'clock, and they happen to show a clip of that. And I see my mom and dad have both passed on. Yeah. And I'm getting all choked up. I see my mom and dad there again. It was just that's why this race is so special.
Yeah. You've had awesome memories. Well, was this race just as special or more special than the Duel in the Sun in Boston?
You know what? This one, for me, is just a little more special because of being the Minnesota kid.
Guy,
and it was a huge breakthrough for me that day. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Boston is something I'll never forget, and most people remember me way more for that than they do for the Grandma's Marathon.
Right.
But for me, here and with my parents being here and Minnesota and being back here for 30 years in a row it just makes it very special.
Right.
Yeah.
When you finished your career,
Yep.
that was in what year?
After the '88 Olympic trials, I retired. I went into the '88 trials out in Hoboken, New Jersey. It was right across from New York City.
Yep.
And I went in there. I felt the best shape as good a shape I'd been in ever. And you know what it's like. If the race would have been the day before, the day after, it could have been completely different. But on that day, I mean, I was dragging a plow.
Oh.
I'll never forget this. At 5 miles, I'm hanging onto the back of the pack. And we're not running overly fast, 5-minute pace, something like that, which should have felt really comfortable. And I started falling back off the end. And I remember Randy Thomas and Greg Meyer drop back. They go, Beards, come on, hang in here.
Everyone's talking to you all the time during
I
these
know
races.
it. I know it.
I love it.
And they go, come on. And I'm going, guys, I'm trying. I said, don't let me mess up your race. And pretty soon, I couldn't stay with him. But I was bound and determined. If I had to walk in, I was going to finish.
That.
And I never gave up hope until I had 3 miles to go.
Oh.
And I'm going by a bunch of people, they have their radios on, and I hear them announcing who will be representing the United States in Seoul. And at that point, I knew
you had 3 to go.
I have no more chance to make.
Yeah,
So
that didn't probably sound so good.
I ran 2:27, one of the worst marathons I'd ever run. But you know what? I remember coming across the finish line, and I was really happy because it would have been so easy just to have dropped out.
Right.
And I
You
was
did
so
it, though.
happy, and for a couple reasons. I knew I'd given it my very best, and after coming off the bad Achilles and major surgery a couple times on that, to get back to where I was, and now that I knew I was going to now move on to the next phase of my life, I was still going to run, just not at that level anymore. It was like this huge sense of almost relief.
Yeah.
It really was.
It was a good way to end it.
It was a good way to end it. I mean, I would have loved to have made the Olympic team, obviously.
Right.
But you know what? It was a good way to end it.
It's hard though. I mean, you've had such a awesome career and like crazy life. I mean, you've had a lot to deal with, but you're so happy all the time.
Well, I'm very fortunate that I kind of was just kind of born that way, I guess. Not that I don't.
And maybe being the Minnesota man that you
yeah.
are.
Well, and not that I don't get a little grumpy once in a while. We all do.
Does he, Dick or Jill?
But,
Rarely.
He
does, but rarely.
But if I do, it's like over with like that.
Right.
It just.
Life's too short, huh?
You just took the words out of my mouth. Life is too short to get really too bent out of shape about a whole lot.
Right.
Really, when you look at the big scheme of things, and I think for me, some of the things I've gone through, not that I've never not appreciated my life, but when you go through some really difficult things, most everything else just it's not that big of a deal if something doesn't go quite right for you,
Next week on See Tolle Run.
Got that morning to get ready for a run, and I looked at my thermometer, and it was pegged out at minus 60. Minus 60. This was not the wind chill. And I thought, okay, I'm going out for a run.
Be sure to like us on Facebook or sign up for our email list so you'll be the first to know when the episode airs.